Hi, everyone. This is Raquel.
Hi, and this is Jennifer.
Welcome to Madness Cafe.
This is a feminist podcast where we talk about women's issues, politics, and health and wellness.
And where those issues intersect. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Madness Cafe. Today, Jennifer and I are joined by Dr. Amani Ballour. And Dr. Ballour is a distinguished Syrian pediatrician, activist, and author. Her memoir, the book that Jennifer was just holding up, The Cave, a secret underground hospital and one woman's story of survival in Syria, which was released on March 5th of this year, depicts her experience running an underground hospital during the Syrian conflict, facing chemical attacks and her eventual displacement, and the critical issues faced by civilians in war zones, particularly women and children. The documentary about her experiences running the underground hospital was nominated for an Oscar in 2019. Dr. Ballour is recognized internationally for her advocacy for women's and children's rights, especially under the harrowing conditions of the Syrian civil war. Dr. Ballour, we are so honored to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. I am very rarely nervous on a podcast, but I got a little nervous today because I feel like you are indeed truly a hero.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for everything that you did, continue to do. Thank you for writing the book, and thank you for being on our show.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
What was it like for you growing up in Syria as a girl?
Well, I grew up in a conservative community in countryside of Damascus. My community have this, customs, traditions, if I can call it. And being girl is a little different than being girl here in the US or in Western in general. I mean, there's different between girls and boys since we were very little children. I mean, not very little, but I mean, since we like around 10 years old, and after this you start to hear that you are a girl, you're not allowed to do this, it's not for girls, you can't ride a bike, you can't climb the trees. After this, I mean, something that I can do before 10 years old, for example. So it's a little, hard for the children to understand this, and for me as a child to understand this. And I always was curious and asking why my brothers can do this and I can't. I wanted to be an engineer when I was like in the intermediate school. I was thinking about this. I believe that I can do something important. I can be an engineer, and this is a good thing for me. But again, my community said, no, it's not for girls. And my father said this. And that was like in 90s in Syria, because it's now a little changed, after all these years, but still have many like barriers against girls and women in Syria. Still need, I mean, to fight a lot. So I couldn't be an engineer, and I couldn't fight enough to get, I mean, to make my dream to be true that time. But I was very good at school, and I was able to continue studying. And this is also is not okay for all the girls to continue studying that time. Also, many girls were very good at school, and my oldest sister was one of them, and she got married when she was 13 years old. She was very good at school. She wanted to continue studying, but that, this is what people believe about girls, that they have to get married and have children. That's all. So I was lucky that I was able to continue studying. I was good at school, so I was able to study medicine, which, is not easy for everyone in Syria to be a doctor. And then I like studying medicine, and I wanted to be a pediatrician.
Well, you turned out doing really important things and helping people anyway. Even though you didn't become an engineer, you've done you've done so much for so many people. I'm sure your family must be proud of you. with everything that you've done?
I mean, they were proud of me actually, and they were very very happy because I will be when I start studying medicine. They started to say that we have a doctor in our house. They were very happy. I mean, doctors in Syria have a good position, and everyone respect them, so they were very happy. Even my father didn't want me to continue studying in the beginning, but then he said to be a doctor, it's a great thing, and he really was happy and proud that I will be a doctor.
That's so amazing and awesome. Would you talk about the regime that you grew up under?
Well, in Syria, I mean, we had a dictator, the father of the current president, since 1970. He controlled Syria and he oppressed everyone. So and then his son come to be a president in 2000. I mean,
Mm,
without any election, without all the people don't want him. I mean, so they controlled Syria for more than 50 years now, and he's still president now. We have no human rights, we have no democracy, we have no freedom. We can't say a word about freedom or about our rights. I mean, everyone is oppressed. It's very hard to talk or to say something, so you disappear. If you say
mm,
something, just people disappear. I mean if your brother or your son or someone disappear, you can't ask about them, and if you try to ask, they said you will disappear too if you ask again. So it's
Wow.
really, it's, yeah, it's heartbreaking, the situation of these people. We cannot know nothing about them. We just know that they are in some prison, maybe being tortured or being killed, so we don't know about them. And that still, continue to happen also after the revolution. My brother disappeared also, and we know that they arrested him, the Syrian regime arrested him. Maybe they killed him, maybe. Now for more than 12 years we know nothing about him. Also my brother-in-law, also many many people from my town and from the whole Syria. So that's why the Syrian revolution started. We saw other countries, I mean Egypt, in Tunisia, in Libya, and when the revolution started, and the Syrian people wanted the same. I mean, they lived the same situation or maybe worse. So they started to ask for human rights. They started to protest peacefully, ask for
mhm.
human rights, ask for freedom, democracy. And immediately the Syrian regime started to arrest them, torture them, to shoot everyone, to kill them. And then they started to bomb using all types of weapons, the warplanes, bomb the safe cities and the safe towns, killing everyone, no matter who, who being killed at these strikes. So it was, I mean, it was horrible.
And in your book, you talk about being in medical school and seeing your first protest. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, my colleagues at the medical school, or we called it Faculty of Medicine in Syria. The city in Syria was called Dar'a, and the protest started in Dar'a at the beginning, where children in Dar'a wrote on the walls something against the dictator, and they arrested the children and tortured them. So then they arrested some of my colleagues in the university. So some of my colleagues, and they were only men at the beginning, started to protest, and they asked for nothing but freedom for other colleagues who were in prison. That's only what they asked for. They didn't say human rights or freedom or something. They said just that we want our colleagues who are
Mm.
in prison and we know nothing about them. This is what they said. They write their names, and they just stand wearing this white uniform for the doctors. And yeah, immediately the Syrian regime brought a bus. I remember the bus stand on the outdoor of the faculty, and there were like many many men. They have these stakes, and they come very quickly and started to hit everyone, and they had blood, and they tried to flee from them. And
Mhm.
then the same people who came from buses from the out of the faculty, they started to protest and say, things to support the dictator Bashar al-Assad and his regime. So they were not students, but they claim that this is another protest.
Throughout all of this, the book and listening to the other podcasts that you'd been on and listening to your story, I am completely in awe of the strength and the conviction that it takes for people to continue to stand up in face of reactions like this, to just asking for just it just for basic human rights, just to be safe, just to know where their colleagues are. How did you all find the strength to continue? What is it that propelled you? And I mean, maybe you can't speak for your friends, but at least for you, what drove you to continue standing up in face of so much danger and possible death?
Well, I mean, seeing the innocent people in front of you, they are being killed, they are being tortured, arrested. I mean, they did nothing but asking for human rights and for, I mean, some human rights. They just wanted to live as other people. I mean, live
Mhm.
in peace and get their rights. And in the beginning, I started to see people when the regime started to shoot everyone, and they shoot a little child. And that
Mm,
was the first person I saw. And they shot him in the head because he just only walking next to the protest. He wasn't protest. I mean, just
right.
walking next to them. So he got this bullet in his head and he died. And I remember I remember seeing his body. I mean, he did nothing. He's innocent. He's just a child. And they didn't care. They just shoot everyone. They don't also target someone. They just shoot, no matter who being killed. So it was really heartbreaking to see this. And then when they started bombing, they targeting children. I mean, once I remember they targeted a primary school and they killed 7 children at the same age. They were 11 years old. They were in the same class. And I remember the other children, not the children who were being killed, the other children who were watching the bombing, hearing the sounds, and seeing their colleagues just died in parts of the bodies. I will not tell you about the injured children, the other children who saw this. And I remember one of them who arrived to the emergency room, and just he was sitting and he couldn't speak. He couldn't say a word. We asked about his name. He said nothing. He has no wound, no blood, nothing. He but just saw this. I mean, it was scary for a child to see this.
Mhm.
I mean, everyone was innocent people. They were targeting hospitals, schools, residential areas, everywhere just to make people give up and stop this. So yeah, I saw these innocent people, and as a human being, I saw this, and I study medicine. I felt like I can do something to help these people. It's the time when people need help. I mean, not when I graduate and continue studying. Now people need help, so I have to do this. And this, pushed me to start work and do what I can do to help people.
How did you start working in the hospital that you call the cave in your book?
I mean, after the Syrian regime started to target hospitals, we moved underground to hide. I mean, to protect ourselves and the patients and the health workers. So we moved underground. We found this basement, and it was at the beginning. It was only like 2 rooms. It
Mhm.
was an empty place. It was dirty. My colleague, Dr. Salim, who started to find this place, and I joined him immediately, started to work there. And we didn't expect that it will last for many years. We thought that we will work here, I mean, temporarily, since I
Mhm.
mean the situation will be better or something changed. So we start working underground, and start, to clean the place, to expand it. And then year after year, many massacres, many casualties, many patients. We needed, more place. We needed more devices. We tried to get something. We were I mean, in besieged area. There were no enough resources, but we could get what was available. So we expand the place, and then after like many years, we make tunnels to connect this hospital with other places, because we couldn't move on the ground because of the heavy bombing. So
Right.
we were able to make it like a big hospital underground. That's why we called it a cave, because it was dark, it was underground. It's actually unhealthy for the patients and for us. We many times miss to see the sun, but
Mm.
it's not the only way to work. I mean to help the patients and the injured people.
And so were you all putting your own lives in danger by helping by running the hospital and helping, like, I mean, was that considered to be against the regime to be helping people who had been injured?
It's enough to be a doctor helping injured to be against the regime. They don't want they shoot these people or they bomb them, so they want them to die. They shoot the children. They want them to die. You don't want you to help anyone. So being a doctor is a crime. Being a nurse is a crime. Also a volunteer, in the hospital, it's a crime. So we are all in the area where wanted for the
Mhm.
Syrian regime, even if you don't say a word, just you are a doctor helping the injured people, so they want you are a terrorist against them. This is what they consider you, as a terrorist. So yeah, it was a crime being a doctor. And then yeah, it started, after we left, there's many people thought that they want to stay because it will, they forced us to leave to another place in Syria, which were also under bombing. So people said, no, we were not gonna go there, and the same scenario will happen. They stayed, and the Syrian regime arrested many, many of them. He arrested two of my colleagues. They killed one of them immediately after we left. The other one, they arrested him for 2 years, and then they released him, and they arrested him again, and now he's there now, but he can't move, go anywhere. He's watched. He can't leave.
And during the time when you were in the cave, what was your belief around the United Nations and the world? Did you think people would come more to your aid?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking this question, actually. And I want to say that the international community, the UN, and all the bodies, they let us down and they failed us. We were waiting for them. Year after year, and this is killing for everyone. Thousands of people were killed. We were starving. Many children were in the area and they were starving. Many babies died because there were no baby formula, and the Syrian regime didn't allow us to get baby formula. Can imagine this. And they know this, and this is what I really feel like it's really heartbreaking, because the international community knows what happened
Mhm.
in the Eastern Ghouta. They know everything, many videos and photos they saw. Many people carries cameras and show what's happening. And also after they watched the documentary and other videos, and many maybe documentaries also were being filmed there. I can't say nothing, because they delivered us aid. I remember like 3 times during the whole 6 years, and we were waiting and waiting them to do something for us, and they then deliver some medical aids and the humanitarian aid, some food. It wasn't enough for everyone. We were nearly 500,000 people. It wasn't enough. And after they brought this, people started to fight to get the food. It makes the situation even worse.
Mhm.
The medical supplies and the medicine was never enough for everyone. We have everyone become a patient or suffer from something after the siege and the starving, no food, no safe drinking water. All these diseases because of the siege and the situation. So yeah, it wasn't enough for us. Also, if I want to say politically, when the Security Council, the UN Security Council had a meeting, we were really hopeful that something will happen, and we waiting for them. And then they did nothing. They just talk and talk, and then Russia make veto against the against us. To support the Syrian regime, and nothing happened. We stayed there for more than 6 years. People were dying. The cancer patients were dying. They had nothing. We have nothing for them. Nothing to help the children. Also, even after a very big chemical attack.
Mhm.
Nothing happened. I was very hopeful that something would change the situation. I mean, using a chemical weapon against civilians, it was like midnight, people are sleeping, many children also there. They used the chemical gas, it was sarin gas, to kill
Mhm.
like thousands, and nothing happened. I mean, nothing changed. All the world saw the videos and saw everyone. I witnessed this, and nothing changed. So they really failed us, and I think they continue to fail other people in other
Yeah.
places. So we
Yeah.
need to fix this. I can say the international system. I mean, we
Mhm.
need
Yes.
to be
Yeah.
more helpful.
I want to read something that you wrote about that chemical airstrike. On page 97 of your book, you say, the 2013 chemical strike was a defining moment that dramatically changed my thinking. I became consumed with thoughts of death and with overcoming the feeling that we were going to remain trapped here, subject to all manner of depravity until we died. I was very afraid, more than I'd ever been. When the siege had just begun and as hunger set in, I honestly thought that this was temporary and that the siege would soon be lifted. I'd tell myself that the United Nations Security Council would meet soon, that it surely had to do something, that it wouldn't let people starve to death. That's what I thought. That's what my parents thought. And that's what everyone around me thought. But then people were killed in a chemical attack, murdered as they slept.
Exactly. This is what I'm trying to say.
Yes. And very well said, I might add. And you also said that this continues to go on around the world. Is it not what's going on maybe in Gaza right now?
Exactly. And I really feel heartbreaking because I watch the videos now, and especially for the doctors and the health
Mm.
workers, I watched like many videos, and it's very hard to me to watch, especially seeing the children. I was at the same situation. I mean, I
Yeah.
was working in a hospital. I was afraid about myself, about my family. Also, maybe my family will be the injured. The next massacre will be in my family. I was trying to help everyone, but there were not enough resources. The same situation in Gaza hospitals. That's why I really feel like I wanted to tell my story to help the people to know the horror of the war, that the innocent people who pay the price, the children
Mhm.
who pay the price. So it
Yeah.
never happened again. But it's happening. So, how frustrated I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In situations like this, I mean, I know it's so maddening and frustrating, and people wanna help. People want to send money or send food or do whatever, but the the regimes aren't letting the food in or letting the aid in. How can people help?
Well, I mean, many people want to help. I mean, now and after I left, and there's still many people are still suffering in Syria, inside Syria and
Right.
outside, especially in neighboring countries like Turkey, Lebanon, and Jordan. Their situation is really bad, and especially in Turkey and Lebanon, they send people back to Syria,
Mhm.
and after all these years, they destroyed their life, especially in Lebanon. They send them to the Syrian regime areas. I think they might killed. I mean, it's very hard situation. Also, their situation in these countries is not very good. I mean, they live in camps. Inside Syria, we have millions of people live in camps. So their situation is really bad. And that's why also I wanted to tell this story to tell the people that this situation is still, I mean, ongoing in Syria.
Mhm.
Everyone's still suffering, especially the children. When the children who were born in the Eastern Ghouta, for example, they born in very bad place under war. They are now teenagers, maybe in Northwest or somewhere, still suffering. They got no education. They have no enough food. They live in a tent. I mean, you can imagine living in a tent. I mean, just think about this, to
Yeah.
be in a tent in winter or in very hot weather in summer. I mean, many times the tents, drown in snow or in the rain or fly with the wind. There's, for example, one bathroom for 100 family in one camp I just saw before I left. So you can imagine that your children around you, it's just you can't give them a bath. This is
Mhm.
very hard situation. So
Mhm.
they need everything. We
Right.
tried, I mean, many organizations are supporting there. I mean, we need your voice in the beginning to support
Mhm.
these people, talk about them and their suffering, talk about the criminal Syrian regime and its allies, especially Russia and Iran, who trying, I mean, to kill everyone. I mean, they destroy Syria. We don't want them to continue oppressing the other people in Syria. They control,
Mhm.
still in control. So we want to take this regime to the court. I mean, not being a
Mhm.
president of Syria. Also, we want humanitarian aid, medical aid, everything. You can donate for these people. You
Mhm.
can donate for many organizations who are trying to help there. I mean, I joined the Syrian American Medical Society, and they are doing great job
Okay.
supporting main hospitals, health workers, and there's other organization also supporting everything, supporting education. So this is, something that can help. I mean, we
Okay.
change their life by doing this. I mean, we don't change the whole situation. It's hard to change everything, but it's helpful.
Mhm.
If we donate to, let's say, because I saw you mention them in your book, if we donate to someone like Doctors Without Borders, does that help? Does it get to Syria? Does the aid get there?
A lot, yeah, a lot of money go to Syria. I just want to say it's not enough. I mean, for everyone, but as I said, it's help. I mean, yeah, Doctors Without Borders help, SAMS help, other organization. I will not say one organization because there's a lot. I mean, I
Mhm.
joined one now, but there's a lot of organizations that people can donate for.
Okay. I wanted you to tell, I know this story isn't as as touching and heartbreaking as when children are dying, but could you tell us a little bit about the bread in your community and what it was like to go from meals fully flourishing with bread and then no bread and then trying to bake bread and then and what you ended with?
Yes, I mean, it's something that I never expected to just not find food to eat. I mean, it's a new policy that the Syrian regime founded to besiege us and to prevent the food and the bread, our main food in Syria. So we had nothing, we had everything before. I mean, we eat what we want. And the Eastern Ghouta is a place full of, vegetables and fruits. So we could plant everything before. And then to besiege us and prevent the bread, it was like a shock for me. So we don't find food to eat, and then the children don't find food. It was very hard. And it was very hard, especially in 2013 and 2014, because we really shocked. We had nothing. We weren't prepared for the situation. And after this, we try, to find what we have. And once I remember, when people have had really nothing, we try to get the animals food and try to make it a bread and try to eat it, and it wasn't, I mean, it wasn't tasty. It's very bad taste.
Mhm.
But I mean, this is all what we found. Then when we have tunnels, we try to smuggle some food from the tunnels, and then the Syrian regime allow for some of the army leaders to sell us barley, which is it's really bad for making bread, but they got a lot of money. It's very expensive to get it. That's why they want to sell it to us and get a lot of money for it. And we start to find something to eat. I mean, also it's not tasty, but it's something that we found, and it doesn't make people gain weight. So you find the children and everyone very, very thin. I mean, it's just something that you can eat now, and it gets very bad after few hours. There's no fresh,
Mhm.
there's no way to save it. So that was our main food for, I mean, maybe 3 years. Beside the people were plant some vegetables, not everything, and some fruits which grow in the area that help us. And after 2015, we depends on the tunnels. We smuggle food, and it was also very expensive. When the Syrian regime knows about these tunnels, they bombed it, destroy it, and then people make another tunnels, to connect it to Damascus city and smuggle food again. It was hard. It was hard to get the food through the tunnels. That's why it was very expensive. But I mean, not everyone could get this food. I mean, we tried our best to get this. We got, as I said in the beginning, some food from the UN convoys for, I mean, it wasn't also enough. But this is what, we think only about our day, or maybe we think about tomorrow, but we know nothing about the other day. So it's
Mhm.
hard to think. And we always were really hopeful. Amid of all these, bad circumstances, we were hopeful that this situation will change. I mean, this is a human being nature that you are, you said that I will find, I'm sure something will change. I'm sure we will find food for tomorrow. So yeah, this is what we thought about.
When you talk about the tunnels, how did that happen? How do you make a tunnel to another city? Like that must have been so difficult.
Yeah, and it's happened with very primary tools. I mean, what we had, we used. I mean, look, when you are hungry in a place, I mean, in a desert, for example, you try to use what you have. I mean,
Mhm.
you will not let yourself die, right? So this is what people were trying to do. We have in the area, we have engineers, we have a lot of educated people. So they try to do what they can. For example, in the hospital, we used fuel from burning the plastic bags, plastic
Mhm.
chairs. They were burning these chairs, these bags, and got fuel from it. And this is something I didn't know about it before, but we used this fuel and it was very good for us. So yeah, people try to do this and they think about this. If we could find some way to get food from Damascus city, and Damascus is not very far from the Eastern Ghouta, and this was also very, frustrating for us because we were hungry and people are next to us, very, very close to us, and they
Mhm.
were eating all the foods and don't think about us. So people think about this, start to make the tunnels. It wasn't very good in the beginning. Then they supported it. They tried to make it more hidden. I mean, so the Syrian regime didn't know about this. But after, years, I think, and everyone think that the Syrian regime knows about this, but keep it because they make it like a trade or something. They got a lot of money through
Mm,
this. They sell us the food with high prices. So that
Mhm.
was good for them. I remember they sold for us many expired food. So the food that they don't want or something
Mhm.
with very high prices. So that was profit for them.
right.
Mhm.
Right.
One thing that I wanted to ask about is during your time at the cave, you started managing the hospital essentially and were like a director of the hospital. Can you talk about your experience doing that? Because I mean, you were the first woman, I believe I'm remembering this right, the first woman in Syria to manage a hospital. Yes?
Yeah, the first women in a war zone, not in whole
Ah,
Syria. I mean, maybe in
okay.
in the cities, in the
Okay.
cities. I mean, it's more developed than the countryside. But in a war zone and in conservative area, when we have these extremist factions sometimes, and we have for example, HTS and other factions in the area, so it was hard for me. As I
Mhm.
said, I come from conservative community, so they don't like and they don't believe that women can lead or that women can be in a position that controlled men. So they
Mm,
refused this, and they hated me because I was trying to do something different, something they don't like. In the beginning, I just believed that I'm a doctor like other doctors who managed the hospital before, so I can do the same. I mean, I was working in the hospital since we start working. It was very small. It was 2 rooms, and I expanded with other doctors. So we were working together. So I can do the same. I had a plan. I believe that I can improve the hospital. I know what's needed for the hospital. And my colleagues believed in me and they encouraged me to be a manager of this hospital. We're like 13 doctors in the hospital. So they elected me and I became the manager. And then I started to hear this from other people in my community, from other men especially. And when they came to say, that we don't want a woman to be a manager. You can't control men. They always repeat saying you can't do this because you are a woman. That was their only reason. You are a woman, so you can't do this. So it was another, uh, additional challenge for
Mhm,
me besides
mhm,
all that situation. I mean, managing a hospital with not enough resources, not enough medicine, under bombing, massacres, and to be fighting because you are a woman, it's something make me frustrated. But I
mhm,
say I will do this. And yeah, many times I faced these people who say this during my time as a manager. I managed it at the beginning. I was supposed to manage it for 6 months, and then my colleagues decided to elected me again because the hospital was good, and they really believed that I can make it better. And so I stayed a manager for 2 years. I mean,
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. And I was able to change many things in the hospital. And I remember after 2 years when some men from my community who were against me in the beginning, some of them came to me and said, "You were right, and you could do something. You make the hospital good." I was very happy that it's possible to change other people's minds. These people who has these traditions for years. I mean, they born with these thoughts. And
Mhm.
I mean, it's possible to change this. It's something really promised for women, and I was very happy. I mean, now I really believe that we can change everything. I mean, everything. So we have to do this, and this is, bring hope for other women. No matter the situation you live in now, what is possible to change.
Oh, what a beautiful message. It's
Right.
beautiful.
You're such an amazing role model. I mean, I can only imagine that little girls see you and meet you and learn about you and just they conceive of a completely different future for themselves. They can see that they can do the things that you've done. That's amazing.
Yeah, I hope to inspire the little girls. They deserve a better future, a better situation. I mean, not only in Syria or in the Middle East, for example, also here, I mean, in
Mhm,
in the US,
mhm.
women
Yes.
need a lot, still need to fight more for their rights. So, yeah, I wish I can inspire these people.
Well, you've inspired me, so
And me.
yeah. Yeah,
Thank you.
you've already started inspiring people, so thank you for all of the work that you do. Can you talk more about the advocacy work that you do helping women and children nowadays?
I attend and do many like events and attend in many places trying to helping women and children talking about my story about Syria. My main job is working as advocacy officer for the Syrian American Medical Society. I mean, we have nearly 40 facilities, medical facilities inside Syria, outside
Mhm,
Syria. And I mean, their work is really great. So I believe that I need to do something with these people. They work in Ukraine now, also supporting Gaza. They work when
mhm,
the earthquake happened in Morocco. I mean, not only in Syria and neighboring countries. They have many projects, and my favorite project also is when they make medical training and medical education, especially for women. We
mhm.
graduate, for example, more than 100 midwives. For example, this
Oh, excellent.
Wow.
yes, it makes a big change for the area because it's a poor area in northwest Syria that happened. So it's really poor area. Many newborns died, and many women suffer a lot when they want to deliver their babies. So having this midwife, they are educated, they do it in a right way. So that helps the area a lot. And this is you still have many projects Sam's doing now there, and I'm happy. I mean, that I'm part of this organization.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
I love that.
One last question I have for you is after you left the cave, you said the word refugee is a difficult label to wear. Why is that? I want our listeners to hear why the self label of a refugee is so difficult. I want them to understand that.
Well, there's a lot to say about this. I mean, I'm a very very lucky refugee. I mean, I didn't force to go to pass from the sea, for example. Many Syrian, they were just hopeless and they just take the sea with the small boats with their children. They watched their children or some of them drowning in front of their eyes and they could do nothing. Some of them starved in the sea trying to find a better life for their children, for their families. I'm very lucky. So I came with a plane. I could be able to get to be a resident in Europe first and here and still have, this difficulties. I mean, we had, as Syrians, we have no documents, no papers, and this is very hard situation. We can't travel, we can't do. I mean, I still suffer. I'm really thankful. I'm thankful for Germany because I was refugee there. I'm thankful for the U.S. Now. I got a green card here. I'm really lucky, but I still want to highlight on the refugees suffering because it's very hard situation. I want to just say we don't want to leave our country. We love our
Right.
country. We want to stay there. I love my hometown. I wanted to be there, but we forced to leave. It's very hard situation to stay there. And many Syrians lost their homes, they lost everything. Some of them lost their families. So they're trying to get a better life, to start working again. It takes years with a Syrian to start a new life, to get
Mhm.
better at the beginning, to learn the language, for example, to do all this. It takes years. I mean, I was it takes with me. I mean, I'm very lucky. It takes with me 4 years to settle down here in the US now. And I'm also lucky because I know some English. So it's easier for me to start working, but not for everyone. So I wish from these countries and from the international system to do more for refugees to help them.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I was gonna ask you that for people who want to help displaced citizens that are now living in their communities, how can they help? What can they do to help the displaced people get situated and start to rebuild their lives?
I think there's, I mean, refugees everywhere
Yeah.
in Europe, in the US. You
Yeah.
can help them in your communities. There, you
Mhm.
can find many people around you. And still, many refugees are arriving here. For example, in the US, I see just, a few days ago, a new family came here. Actually, when they arrive here, they need everything.
Mhm.
This family, for example, they don't speak English. They need someone to help them translate. They don't have the drive license, for
Mm.
example. You can imagine their situation. They have
Right.
5 children. They need to start studying in the school, but they know nothing. So
Right.
try to find these people, the refugees in your communities, in your towns. They are everywhere. I'm not talking only about Syrians. There's many refugees from other countries. You can do everything. I mean, you can do just, I mean, simple action for them. Try to talk to other people. If you feel that you are unable to help them, talk to your neighbors, your friends about them. Maybe someone can help. And also you can help through the organization who support. I mean, there's many organizations, the UN organizations and others help supporting refugees. For example, SAMS, also our organization, is working, for
Mhm.
example, Greece supporting refugees. So
Mm.
yeah, I mean, they need everything. I mean, you can imagine to start a new life in a new
Mhm.
country, talking
Right.
another language is
Yeah.
really hard. And I'm really thankful for the people who helped me in the beginning. And I really still remember this when I was just suffering. I wasn't able, it was my first journey by plane when
Mhm.
I in Turkey. So I went to the airport for my first time. I mean, I was very young when the Syrian revolution started. So I didn't travel by plane before. So,
Mhm.
this simple thing, but I needed help to go to the airport, to go to the plane. I know nothing about this. So this is what people need there. I mean, start to help them, donate for them also. So this is very, I mean, if every one of us do their part, so we can change the situation.
Yeah. Is
Wow.
there any message that you wanted our listeners to hear? Anything we didn't ask you about that you wanted to tell? the people?
My message and my main goal from writing this book, telling this story, is that as human beings, it's a responsibility for us to help each other. It's not something that you want to do or not. We have to believe in this. Everyone now listening to me, imagine that you have a situation, someday it's happening. And if you need help and no one care, I mean, we have to care about each other. So research about these people who are suffering not only in Syria, I mean, everywhere still, people are suffering from many, many, things, not only wars, maybe disasters, natural disaster or something, and try to do a simple thing for them. I mean, just think that I can do something. If you have money, donate for them. If you don't have money, talk about them. Try to make pressure on the politicians. Talk to a parliament member. Do some simple thing. If everyone do these things, it's a big change for these people.
Thank you.
Dr. Ballour, thank you so much for all of the work that you've done leading up to today, and all the work that you continue to do, and for writing this book so that people can understand not just what you went through and what you're going through now, adjusting to a new country and a new life, so that we can have a better understanding of what it's like for people living in the middle of a civil war or some sort of just
Siege.
some siege, some military unrest. It's important for us to know that these are actual people that are going through these things, the things that we see on the news, and oh, and then there's a bombing, and then there's this and that, and this leader who's awful. There are people that are being affected who have nothing to do with all of the machinations of the leaders and the regimes and the politicians and all the things. And you're helping us to remember that, and to see that these are people, and we have to care about each other. So thank you so much for writing the book and for continuing to talk about this, so that we don't forget, and that we'll continue to learn about this. So thank you so much for
Thank
the
you.
work that you're doing.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
It's truly our honor to meet with you and speak with you and help you get the message out.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I have so much respect and admiration for Dr. Ballour, for what she's doing and what she's gone through. It's just so amazing that she went through all this, and so many people that she knows and loves are suffering and have suffered. She relived all of it to write this book so that other people can understand and do something to help other people. I'm completely in awe of her. And yeah, I don't have very good words right now, but I'm in awe of her.
Yeah, I see your tears, and I share those tears. The world should share those tears.
Mhm.
Sadly, the book is very timely.
Yeah.
The book is very timely because it's very reminiscent
Mhm.
of what the world is going through now with Gaza. And no matter where you sit politically,
Mhm.
what countries you align yourselves with, the absolute siege of people, the starving them so that they
Yeah.
will give in.
And
No,
poisoning people, poisoning your own citizens to break them so that they'll give in. What? I don't understand that.
also chemical warfare is supposed to be, that's supposed to be like the final,
Yeah,
the
it's
final.
a war crime. It is a
Yeah,
war crime. It is
that's what I was
a
trying to
war
say.
crime. It is against the Geneva Convention. It is a war crime.
That's what I was trying to say. It's supposed to be like the final bad thing that you can do, but it doesn't seem like in these situations in these countries in our own country that, okay, so reading the book, watching the news, talking these things out, it doesn't feel like the average citizen really can do anything. But Dr. Ballour proved that to be wrong, because
Mhm.
the average citizen, this woman defying all odds,
Mhm.
became a doctor, went and worked in an underground hospital,
Yep.
lost
For
people,
6 years.
saved people, became a refugee, met the man that she would marry,
Mhm.
moved countries several
Several
times.
times. Yeah. Has a child of her own now, and continues through all of that, continues to advocate for other people, to go through all of that and still have this amazing heart and still want to help and not be completely beset with bitterness and grief. I am completely in awe.
Dr. Ballour is what I would consider a war hero. You
Mhm,
know, people go
mhm,
off to war and they shoot people or save people or whatever they do, and they come back and they get a Medal of Honor.
mhm.
This to me is what a war hero is. It's someone who's not picking up arms. There are points in the book where she talked about it didn't matter what soldier came in, what
Yeah,
side they were fighting on, who they were with. They
right.
did their absolute best to try and help and save that human being based on the fact that they were a human being.
Yeah,
And all the resistance was about was asking for basic human rights, the same things that we all want. And the media portrays in multiple countries, in multiple situations, people who are fighting for, or even just not even fighting,
just existing.
just asking for basic human rights as terrorists. They
Yeah,
put it in the media, it's propaganda. These are these are little kids. Little children are not terrorists.
these are people, these are babies, these are people just trying to live their lives, mind their own business, just get through the day, make it to the next one, and they're
And the
and
warfare is just shut off the freeways, shut off the passage to town, don't let food get in, don't, yeah, it's all like this big
yeah,
war scheme
shut
with,
off the power, do this, shut off the water, don't let them have access to anything. It,
how about what did they do in Gaza recently? They shot the trucks that were bringing the food in,
yeah, yeah, just
right?
yeah,
The rescue team, not rescue team, the what are they called? The
the
people who
aid workers.
they shot the aid workers on
Yeah,
purpose.
yeah.
On purpose. And yet, where is the UN? Where is the international community holding people responsible for actual war crimes? And in my opinion, war itself is a crime, but we won't even go there.
Mhm.
Okay. Is all really fair in war?
No, it's not. It's not.
No. Where is the actual accountability?
You
The
know what?
accountability.
And this is maybe an unpopular opinion. I know in this situation with Syria, it's a civil war, but or it was, but and so the regime is, trying to tear down their own people. But in situations where countries are at war, just have the leaders, just put them in a ring somewhere, let them beat each other's asses,
And
and
leave the people out of
leave the
it.
people alone. With Syria, like just, you know, give that guy, like, I don't know, like something that he can, just one thing he control, like give him a plant for God's sake. I don't know. Do something, medicate him, get him out, something, get rid of, and I know they're trying to do that, but it's just quit hurting people. Just quit hurting people. And I know I sound incredibly naive right now,
No,
but
Raquel,
just stop
eh,
hurting people.
no, but in the show notes, will you put some of the organizations that Dr.
I will.
Ballour mentioned so that
I
if
will.
people want to donate money, donate time, maybe they could do something for
I will,
some
for sure.
refugees. I have been thinking seriously about Doctors Without Borders. I was always kind of worried that maybe they couldn't get where they were needed, but she mentioned them directly in the book that they were able to get through. So maybe some of these organizations can get through, and maybe we can. I mean, some relief is better than no relief.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I will definitely put links to all those places in, in the show notes. And for everybody listening, chances are pretty good that there are displaced citizens who have moved to your city
Mhm.
or in your area. Just Google how you can help so that for people who have been affected by war or famine or whatever in their home countries and had to leave, just figure out how you can help them. Figure out what you can do. If you can't give your time, give money. If you can't give money, give your time. If you can't give either of those, start talking about it. Like Dr. Ballour said, just find a way that you can help.
I think the last thing that I want to say is that I would highly recommend to pick up the book and
Mhm,
read it or watch a documentary. The documentary is out in the same name.
mhm,
Because for me, what reading the book did as I'm watching what's going on around the world, it helped to make the political so personal
mhm.
because it is a personal story of a girl growing into a woman, her family, her
Her
relative.
brother, her brother-in-law, nieces who were,
Exactly.
yeah.
It just brought it down to such a personal level that
Mhm,
reading the pages, it was painful. It's
mhm,
painful to read the pages of this book.
mhm,
And yet it's so well written, and the flow is so good, and it's so inspiring in so many ways.
mhm,
And I just think that reading the book helps to grow compassion. It
mhm,
also taught me something about Syria that I did not know, which
mhm,
is some basic history that I
mhm.
did not know.
Yeah.
If you can't do all those other things, watch the documentary, read the book,
Mhm.
educate yourselves.
The effort that it took and the emotional labor that Dr. Ballour had to do to relive all of this and to put it down on paper so that other people can understand. The least the least we can do as hopefully citizens of the world would be to read the book, watch the documentary, talk about it. Listeners, that's your call to action.
Thank you, Raquel.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thanks everyone for listening today. We will be back with more Madness Cafe next week. You can find us on Instagram at Madness Cafe Podcast or email us at madnesscafepodcast@gmail.com. Bye.